Hello, hello, hello. My name is Tony Kimball. I am your host of Transforming Lives. I'm so excited that you all joined us tonight. Tonight, what you want you to understand, like every other night that we're on, we're just genuine people, just talking with genuine people with real lives. Our mission is to allow people from our communities to share their stories to encourage others to live a transformed life. And tonight, again, is no different. I woke up this morning, guys, and I fell into the role of an educator and a parent. It's a role that is quite different as the roles are in many professions right now in this pandemic. Woke up this morning of being having a job as an educator and a job as a parent. And my eyes open because there's rare that I have that time to be on that parent side and mix in education and was able to visit what we call virtual learning. Well, guys, that is something that many, many decades ago was not on my plate, and it was not on many people's plate that we will have to instruct our students on. Well, guys, right now, currently educators are going through these steps to ensure that they'll be able to educate their children in whatever capacity that they're in. Well, guys, it has been a very quick turnaround. And I can say that, and I think many others can say that we've learned a lot. And I commend all of the educators out there that are and have made those steps towards educating our future. Well, guys, tonight, it is no question. I'm excited to have my next guest on. Who would have thought that the role that he serves in, that I would have the opportunity to have many conversations and begin to pull different things from him as I stepped into a new role as a math consultant. He's definitely no stranger to Mississippi. My guest is Mr. Shan Cleveland. He's the executive vice president of the Kirkland Group. With over 20 years of experience in education, he's taught in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, but he's on the other side. I call it the other world, the English, the ELA. He served in several capacities at the Department of Education. He holds several memberships from the National Council of Teachers of English, Associate of Supervision, Curriculum and Development, the Education Technology Industrial Network. Guys, he's also the co-author of Practice Core for Dummies, Practice Elementary Education for Dummies, 101 Practice Core Practice Question for Dummies, and he assists students and teachers in obtaining positive results on the practice and ACT and subject area exam. He resides in Mississippi with his family. Guys, I'm excited to bring on my next guest, Mr. Shan Cleveland. All right, Mr. Cleveland, how are you doing out there, sir? I don't know if I got you on or not.
Everything's, yes, sir. Everything's well. It's like there's a delay or something.
Okay. What about now? Are we good now?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a little delay. Thank you for coming on. We have a little lag right here, but we're going to push through this. The sound, of course, will be there. And again, sir, thank you for coming on and taking out of your busy schedule to be on with me tonight on Transforming Lives. How are you doing tonight?
Everything's well. Everything's well. I'm excited about this opportunity to speak to everybody about how to transform lives.
Okay, great. So, one of the things I want to start now is when I have guests on, one of the first questions I ask is I ask about their childhood. So could you tell us about your childhood and what type of child were you, sir, growing up?
Oh, I had a great childhood growing up. I grew up, now I'm a little bit unique in that I grew up in a two-parent home from 0 to 14 years old. And then my father passed away. And then I grew up in a single parent home from 14 until 18 when I went into college. I was a pretty good student, I would say, in the beginning, up until I was about 14, where I was consistently on the honor roll in everything except math. I always struggled with the math side of things, but um, everything else went pretty well with my subjects. And then when my father tragically passed away when I was 14, then it was kind of it was going in. I think we had the funeral on a Saturday in August, and then that Monday school started for ninth grade. So it was
Oh,
pretty
wow.
tragic and everything. So from then on, all throughout high school, I had pretty low grades, low expectations for myself. Got to a point even ninth grade where I just wanted to kind of get away. And at the
Mhm.
time, Miss Kirkland, who's my sister, was teaching at Piney Woods Country Life School. So I ended up going there for a year, and it wasn't because I got in any trouble. Some people think that Piney Woods is a school that where kids go when they're in trouble or whatever,
Right.
but it was really growing up in a small town in Carthage, Mississippi. I really didn't see Black excellence until I went to Piney Woods Country Life School, where a lot of the arts were celebrated. A lot of
Mhm.
the different, the head, the heart, and the hands, educating all three aspects of a human being. For as far as education, that was emphasized there at the school. I got a little homesick, so I only
Yeah.
stayed there for a year. I hate that I left. Look, when I look back on it, because I would have had 3 state championship rings in basketball at the
Right.
time. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a journey. It was part of the journey. I really enjoyed it. So I went back to Carthage and I graduated in 1996. Um, from there, I started going to Hines Community College, Jackson State, and eventually Mississippi College for my master's. So,
Okay.
hmm but
Okay.
going back, let me go back here too. One thing, and this is very important. One part that I did witness, I ended up failing Algebra 2 going into my senior year. So I took summer school in Jackson. But that was very, I think that was a part of my life that was helpful for me to see that, I need to set my goals a little bit higher for math. And the
Mhm.
summer school went very well, but I said that this is going to be a time where I'm going to revisit and focus next time to make sure that I'm not in the same boat as I was before. But I did end up making the mistake again when I got into college, and that's gonna when we talk about college a little bit more. When we talk about when I became an educator, I'll tell you a little bit more about that part of it.
But sir, that
Mhm.
math. When I look at ELA,
Yeah.
I'm interviewing you, but I got some stories for ELA, so we can trade. We can
Yeah.
trade off some stories, right?
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, definitely that's important for our viewers to hear as we go through our next couple of questions. Because the next question I want to ask you,
Mhm.
who's been the most? Maybe it's a person or people.
Yeah.
Who's been the most important people in your life, and tell us about them.
Yeah, I mean, the most important person in my life, I would say, would be my father. He had an 11th grade education, ended up starting a business, and I watched him grow his business. He was small business, logging business, so he probably had about 6 or 7 employees, had
Mhm.
several parts of several heavy equipment.
Mhm.
All throughout and everything. So it was a good experience to watch him manage a company, and my mom helped him with the accounting side of things. So just I can't that kind of inspired me later on to look at take the same perspective we're working on with Miss Kirkland, just to make sure that you have like a family business and that everybody's working, everybody's trying to grow, everybody's on one accord. Sometimes you can't have family working together because you have all kind of different issues going on, infighting and things like that. But I think we've managed to have a good working relationship.
Right, right. And it's important how you stated for many, uh, particularly in the African American community that don't
Hmm.
have those fathers, but how your father still is impacting you and how he
Right.
impact you
Mhm.
It's great to hear. So let's talk about this journey. We've began with you as just growing up. We found someone that has been impactful in your life. So did you see yourself becoming an educator?
Oh no, definitely not. That was the last thing I wanted to do. Coming out of high school, and it was a bad choice. I guess I didn't. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the ability, I guess, to do it because I wanted to fix computers.
Right.
So I wasn't gonna go to a 4-year college. I was just gonna go to a 2-year college at Hines. I wanted to fix computers. Um, got to Hines and had some hiccups because I couldn't handle the math and the physics to
Mm-hmm.
for computer repair. And so I ended up in the first semester. I think I had a 1.7 GPA. Got kicked out of the dorm. My cousin and I got an apartment in Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a job working at Sears to pay for the apartment. And so while I was working at Sears, you had all kind of guys there. You had guys who worked there part time from like I think at the time Sears at Metro Center was open from like 10 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was going to class in the daytime, and then I was working probably like a 1 to 9 shift.
Mm-hmm.
Ran into a lot of different guys that were older than me, and several of them were sort of like mentors, I would say.
Right.
But I had an epiphany in that I said, look, if I don't make some adjustments and decide on what I really want to do, then this could be me in
Mm-hmm.
10, 15 years where I'm working here. And there's nothing not to put down working there, but I knew that was not my long-term purpose. And so at that point, I had the epiphany and I said, look, I'm going to have to buckle down. I'm going to get out of school. I'm going to find myself. And so I ended up changing my major to, I think I changed it to history for a while, and then I ended up changing it to English. And at the time, I thought I wanted to maybe go into like a law school type
Mm-hmm.
deal, but I said, I don't want to be in school for. I think at the time I maybe was a freshman, so I would have been in school a lot longer than I was
Right.
planning to. So I said, look, you know what? As I was working at Sears, I was in the automotive department
Mm-hmm.
selling tires, and I had I ended up like becoming like a team leader, and I
Right.
had several of the new employees that were coming in. The manager asked me to train them, and so as I was training them, I said, this seems like it'd be cool. I think I want to be a teacher." Because I enjoyed the light bulb moment. I
Right.
kind of
Right.
got
Right.
the high off the light bulb moment of, oh, I know how to do this now. And so
Right.
that's what kind of inspired me to want to be a teacher. Yeah.
Right. And
Hmm.
it's interesting to hear my initial major, and it's very.
Hmm.
I tell this story all the time. My initial major was computer programming, and I pulled out because of Calc 3 or 4, and I was like, I'm not ready for it. And then I come around and become a math teacher, and it's just like, okay, all right, yeah, right. So it's interesting to hear that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, but I think you would have been a great computer scientist myself, and at least that was in the arena of the math. Uh,
right. Right.
because I was totally left field with the physics and the math requirements for fixed computers, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. I thought that at least that's what I wanted to do.
Right, right. Yeah, that. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that. That's a whole other show. Talk about that physics and all that. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So you began talking about some lessons that you learned,
Hmm.
on your particular job at the time. So
Hmm.
could we continue? Or what
Hmm.
are some of the most important lessons you've learned in your life? Sure.
Okay, I'd say the forgiveness. Um,
Mm,
don't hold on to it. Let it go. No matter what people do to you, you have to forgive, not for them, but for you.
hmm.
Um, I've had a journey where I've been on jobs. I can remember on a few occasions where I can remember one particular guy. He was very rude to me as a teacher. He was an administrator, very rude, condescending. I kind of reached out to him for some things because I didn't know that he was like that, and some advice and wisdom and things like that. But he was very nasty. Um, I would have never thought that he would do some of the things that he did on, a job as far as harassment and things like that. It really had, was lawsuit level stuff that he was, doing. But, later on, I just moved on, got another job in a different district. This was, the early 2000s, probably, 12 years later, he was in my office at the Kirkland Group asking for a job.
Wow.
I hired him. I recommended to hire him.
Right.
Because I looked at the big picture. I said, look, would this guy be an asset to our company? Would he be somebody who we could bring on board and could help us in these different areas that he was skilled in? And I said, look, I think he'd be somebody that'd be an asset. I can put all that aside, and let's look at the big picture here. I'm going to be the bigger person. I know that if things were different, he wouldn't hire me. I know that, but you have to look at the big picture and not be petty about things. And so I've learned that lesson. I think that's one of the reasons why I've been put in certain positions in life where I didn't hold grudges against people. And this is not just one incident. I've had multiple incidences where I've had probably 3 or 4 people who I worked with in the past, and they were, probably an administrator when I was a teacher, or, in different management roles, and very rude, nasty. But, you have to look and say, this is not something that I'm going to pass down. I'm going to take the Joseph approach, approach, where you forgive your brother and move on.
That's go ahead. That's powerful.
Oh, and I was just going to say, but that's just something that I've learned over the years, and that's a trait that I always try to take, is just have a short memory when it comes to what people do to you. You remember, but you don't let that hold you back and hold a grudge on that. I never would have thought in a million years that God would have blessed me to be able to write books, to start businesses, especially at that time when I was that 9th grade kid, whose father passed away, and I, didn't know which way to go, didn't know what to do, and everything like that. So you have to be able to rise above the circumstances and keep going, and not stress the small stuff.
Right. And this is it right here. This is why, when we talk about your life being transformed, it's moments like this where you have to be the forgiveness. I have to, and be that bigger person. That's good. That's an important lesson. That is. Thank you for that one. So, that I begin to think about transformation, and that's in a person's life. My next question is dealing in terms of the field of education. What does transformation look like in the field of education?
Well, some things that I would like to see is it really needs to be more of a focus on job skills earlier. I think we wait too long for in education for the kids to kind of decide on what they want to do. I think they need to maybe do that a little bit earlier. I think we have a golden opportunity with virtual reality, augmented reality, where maybe they can put the glasses on.
Right.
And if you want to be a nurse, you can go into, a practice of a, emergency room situation, or a scene in a hospital where you got a pandemic going on, and here's some things that you would have to do for your job. Now, you could do that with augmented reality. You could be a paramedic. You could be a situation where if you want to be a teacher or a police officer or something, you can do those types of things. If you're going to be a repairman, a plumber, electrician, those are job skills that need to be taught earlier, I think. And I think it would make it more relevant, especially to our Black males who are falling behind, because some of them don't feel that school is as relevant to them, because sometimes we as educators don't cater to their learning styles. And so I think that's one thing that we need to do, is focus on teaching the job skills earlier with the virtual reality. I think we need to teach these kids about money. I think that's Why is it that they don't know how to balance a checkbook? Why is it they don't know how to how banks work? I think that's a skill that needs to be taught. I think we need to teach these kids how to start a business early.
Yeah.
You got a lot of these kids who are selling drugs. I mean, selling drugs is a business. It's just illegal.
You're right.
So,
right.
Figure out a way to teach them the right way to do it legally. If you're good with your hands, let's figure out a way to turn that into a business. If you want to be a plumber, that's not degrading to be a plumber. You can pay plumbers thousands of dollars for working 1 or 2 hours, just doing something that's going to take 1 or 2 hours, but they can making several $1,000s an hour depending on what the job is. Welding, different skills, auto mechanics. We're always going to need somebody to fix our cars, and basically a car is a computer. So just those types of skills, I think we need to change and start teaching those skills and focusing on them as well.
Right. Yeah. That's important. My first teaching job out of college was I didn't teach pre-algebra. I taught a class called technical math, and I'm like, what is technical math? What is this? However, I learned more from that class than in that first 5 years of teaching, where I remember students saying to me, "Hey, Mr. Kimball, look, I'm going to run my dad's shop. He changes oil. I'm going to run his shop when I leave this school." And my mind began, the things that you were talking about, my mind began to shift and change, because I'm like, no, I want you to go be this. But for him, he could tell me the exact math within how many quarts, the metric system, all that stuff. He could tell me that, and I'm just sitting there like, man, like you're talking about, I have to transform how I look at education. So yeah, that's great. So the next question is, what are 2 keys when you're talking about transforming a school or a district?
I think you need to target the struggling readers early. Sometimes we wait too long. First grade is really too late. We need to target those struggling readers. We need to target those kids early on in a preschool program, so that they come into first grade understanding sound letter recognition, understanding phonics, understanding basically how to write their name, best practices for all of that. Because if they don't get it by kindergarten, first grade, it's hard for these kids to catch up. So I think that's one thing. Another key is going to be, in the school, you need everybody on one accord. You don't need the English teacher doing one thing, the math teacher doing something totally different, or the 9th grade English teacher doing one thing, the 10th grade English teacher doing something totally different, and then the 11th grade. So you need to make sure that there's everybody's on one accord. It's going to be the leadership of the administration to set that tone. And then, of course, there needs to be rigor in the classroom. Making sure that the teachers are focusing on and teaching to the rigor of the standard. You can't have watered down instruction and expect to have high level student achievement.
Right. And that's important when you talk about, and for some reason, I don't know, maybe, I'm getting a little older, but I have peeked over there in ELA. And it's some interesting stuff that's over there. Yeah. And one of the things is, I like what you said about that starting early with teaching children how to read. And it's some of the stuff I'm like, man, I guess they did teach me that in school. I don't think I paid attention to it, but I guess the teachers did teach me that in ELAs about phonics. And in fact, I guess I should, take them off the hook. Around the time they were teaching phonics, I was a little bit active. A little bit active in class. I won't say bad, but I was a little active in the classroom. So definitely that's good to know and parents to hear. So, as we're talking about ways, keys to transforming the school, I'm sure parents are listening to this. Parents are going to look at this. Could you provide some ways, in which parents can support their children during virtual instruction?
I think any type of software programs that you can come up with that supplement their learning, like Epic is a good software program for reading, and then Splash Learn is a good software program for math. Also, I think in that home there needs to be a quiet learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't need to have the TV blasting when they're on their Zoom with their teacher, or they're trying to work on their packets or whatever. You need to make sure that there's a quiet learning place designated, that this is going to be where you're going to learn your lessons. You're going to get your virtual learning takes place here. Make sure that you're reducing distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure the kids complete the assignments. If they don't complete the assignments, they're going to have some struggles when they get back in school, because we're already, especially if you have a virtual situation where there's no hybrid, it's just all virtual in some of these districts. And then you need to maybe reach out to the teacher, for help if you don't understand what the expectations are. Those are just some things I would say that I at least that's what I'm doing with my kids, and it seems to be going pretty well
Right.
overall, despite the circumstances.
Right. Yeah. For the particular district that my son is in, now they had a virtual day today, and he was getting his lesson done, and next thing I know, he slipped in trying to get on the video game. So I'm looking like something's not right here.
Yeah.
Something's not right here. You're on this video game, but it's about whatever time it was. I'm like, now I need to go check and see what you're doing. Or my wife checked to see, make sure. So those are very that's valuable information. I find in that quiet place of communicating with the parent, communicating with the teacher. So yeah, those are several great points that parents. I usually have the educator hat on. Now parents, we definitely need those examples of ways to help. We got a couple of more questions. I'm sure that there are educators that are viewing and will view this. What can you say to the viewers, even educators, to encourage them to go after their dreams?
Here's the thing. We don't know how long we're going to be on this earth. But one thing you don't want to do is for time to run out and you haven't gone after all your dreams. That's one thing that I decided. It was about a year ago. I decided I'm going after all my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I were on one accord with that. We talked about it, and we want to make sure that our kids go after their dreams and everything like that. But you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn. You have to go out on a limb, because that's where the fruit is. When you go out on that limb, there's fruit. Now you may be a little bit scared that you may fall, but you have to go. If you want that fruit, it's worth it to go out on that limb and go after it. Right.
That's important. Yeah. The fear of failure sometimes prevents us. So yeah, that's good information. I've asked you several questions tonight. What is one thing I didn't ask you, but you would like to share tonight?
Well, I started another business about a year ago, and so Ms. Kirkland and I had a discussion, and we started another business called Potter's Property Solutions, where we repair foreclosed homes. And so it's been going well, actually very well. I think it has potential to be one day as big or bigger than our Kirkland Group side of the business. So it's very different arena of things. I'm learning. I feel like a kid again. I feel like a first year teacher again, first year in my profession, but it's been going very well, and I'm excited about the future. The timing of it was actually perfect, because there's going to be a time where there'll be foreclosures all over the country.
Right.
It's sad, but that's true. So it's going to be hopefully things will get better, but I think that's something that we are that is promising with the repairing of the foreclosed homes.
Wow, that's good. That's definitely a whole nother arena.
Hmm.
And definitely hats off for you for definitely even when you offer your advice, you're going after your dreams. So
Hmm.
we're in our two minute blitz.
Hmm.
So what are three words that you want to leave with the viewers?
I would say chase every dream.
Mhm.
Chase every dream, no matter what it is. Chase every dream. I do also want to say this too. Don't look down on that child who struggles in math, struggles in reading, but he has other skills. Every child has some type of skill set that's, everybody has talents. We don't all have the same talent. Some of us are strong in other areas. Some of us are strong in certain areas. But the thing is, you have to make sure that you chase your dreams. You don't look down on people just because they're not strong in certain areas. And then what I want to say also is that that child who is good with in other skills, like with their hands or something like that. Try to show him the way of going into being a roofer, or show him the way of going into being a handyman or something like that, because that can branch off and be a potential business that he could start.
Absolutely. That's important. I wholeheartedly are there with you with that. It's
Mm-hmm.
important because in each child there's something. And I never forget this. Anytime this comes up, I always say it. I once saw a quote as a coach, and it was a story. And the gist of the story is what you're talking about. Is saying that ninth grader is going to turn into that 12th grader. So you need to treat them in such a way they're understanding that they're going to become that 12th grader. So, Mr. Cleveland, I appreciate the wisdom, the information that you brought to the table tonight. Very helpful. And I'm sure that those that are viewing and those that will view afterwards will gain something from this. Um, and I thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to say before we
Um,
close out?
no, I just enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk again and come back and have some further discussions.
All right, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for viewing tonight's session. We hope that you have a nice night. If you are looking at this as a replay, please leave a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from and comment in there. So thank you all, guys, and have a nice night. This concludes our session.
Good night.